Hello, welcome back to Holiday Greek. Today is a national holiday in Greece, the 25th of March, and we will talk about this. We will talk about the holiday in our short news item for this day. The title is «Η 25η Μαρτίου, η Ελλάδα τιμά την εθνική της, επέτειο». Let's go. First the text, then I will explain a little bit and translate it, and then in the end we have a quiz. As always, if you want to have the text itself, the written text, please go to my Substack where you can subscribe and then get all these texts and videos and everything else by email every time when they appear. I cannot put the text here, I just want to explain it very briefly, because if I do this daily, it will take too much time for me to be able to do this, right? I also have a full-time job. This is not my job here. This is my hobby. So if I want to do this daily, the only way to do it is to give it to you raw in this form rather than having to format the text and put it there and synchronize it with the reading and so on. This takes forever. Okay, let's go. We read the piece of news, 2 paragraphs. Σήμερα, 25η Μαρτίου, η Ελλάδα τιμά την 25η επέτειο της Ελληνικής Επανάστασης με μαθητικές και στρατιωτικές παρελάσεις σε ολόκληρη τη χώρα. Η εθνική εορτή σηματοδοτεί την αρχή του αγώνα για ανεξαρτησία από την Οθωμανική Αυτοκρατορία του 1821 και αποτελεί μία από τις σημαντικότερες ημέρες του ελληνικού ημερολογίου. Παράλληλα με τις επίσημες τελετές, οι ελληνικές οικογένειες τηρούν την παράδοση μαγειρεύοντας μπακαλιάρο με σκορδαλιά, το χαρακτηριστικό πιάτο της ημέρας. Στο μήνυμά του προς τον ελληνικό λαό, ο πρόεδρος της Δημοκρατίας τόνισε ότι οι αξίες της ελευθερίας και της δημοκρατίας παραμένουν πιο επίκαιρες από ποτέ, καθώς η χώρα αντιμετωπίζει τις προκλήσεις μιας νέας εποχής. Okay, so that's that. This is the text. It is again a little more difficult than yesterday. This is B2 to C1. Okay, let's go word for word. Σήμερα, today, 25η Μαρτίου, the 25th of March. And perhaps we should say there are 2 major holidays, national holidays in Greece, specific Greek holidays, rather than, the general things like Easter or Christmas. The one is the 25th of March. The other is the 28th of October. And of course, there's also Polytechnio Day, I forgot this now, is the 17th of November. So the 25th of March is the rising of the Greeks in 1821 against the Turkish occupation, which eventually led to the end of the Turkish occupation and the emergence of Greece as sovereign country. The 28th of October is the Ochi Day, the no day, at which the armies of Italy, which were allies of the German armies in the Second World War, wanted to cross Greece for some military objective. I don't know the details of it, but the Greeks said, Ochi, no, you're not coming in here with your Nazi armies. Keep out. And then there was a fight about this, and what we celebrate is this Ochi, which was said by the then Prime Minister of Greece, a man called Metaxas. These are these 2, and then we have the Polytechnio, the 17th of November 1973, which was the beginning of the end of the Greek dictatorship. Okay, so let's go with this holiday now. Σήμερα, 25η Μαρτίου, today on the 25th of March, η Ελλάδα, Greece, τιμά, is honoring. Τιμή is both the honor and the prize. So you can say the timi of minced meat, the timi of potatoes, is the price of potatoes at the market. But then if you say tima, this is the verb timo, which does not have the meaning of prize. This is only the meaning of honoring. Την 25η, the 205th, επέτειο. Επέτειος is the anniversary, and you can see in there the word etos, which means the year. So it's an epi etos, and on the year, right? On the year. Της Ελληνικής Επανάστασης, of the Greek Revolution. Επανάσταση is the revolution, and perhaps you've heard when it's Easter, they say Anastasi, Kali Anastasi, means good awakening from the dead, right? Because Jesus came back from the dead. And so this resurrection, right, is the English word for it, the resurrection. And Epanastasi is a, kind of resurrection, a political resurrection. So it's interesting that a revolution is seen as a resurrection rather than, in English, revolution has a somewhat different meaning, right? It is more something that rotates. It's a revolving thing where you have one party that's at the bottom coming on top and the one that was on the top going to the bottom. But here we have more of a directed sense of history where there's a resurrection happening, right? And some order is restored through the revolution rather than just being rotated. Okay, let's continue. Με μαθητικές και στρατιωτικές παρελάσεις. And the παρέλαση is the parade. And then there are two kinds of parades. Μαθητικές, μαθητής is the pupil, the student. Και στρατιωτικές, stratos is the military. So there are student parades and military parades. And so this is celebrated there across the whole country, σε ολόκληρη την χώρα. Σε ολόκληρη the whole την χώρα, country. Η εθνική εορτή, this national holiday. Σηματοδοτεί. We had σηματοδοτεί recently in another article. It marks την αρχή του αγώνα, the beginning of the struggle. Αγώνας is the struggle. It's also the competition, the sports competition. Για ανεξαρτησία. Ανεξαρτησία means independence. And this means independence in all sorts of ways. It can be independence in the sense that your child, when it grows up, it becomes independent. It can be the independence of women. It can be the independence of a country, right? So exactly like you say, independence. And it's actually the same word, right? Because exartisi is the dependence. And exartima is a part of a bigger machine. It's, how you say it in English, when you have a machine and it has different parts to it, like the engine of a car, it has cylinders and it has, the pistons and whatever it has in there. And these are all exartimata. These are all pieces of that machine, and they only work in dependence, right, with the machine. And so this is exartisi, is dependence. And an, this is the a, again, the depriving a. So it is not, right? This is the negation. It's not dependent. It's independent, right? So it's exactly the same idea as the English word independence. Από την Οθωμανική Αυτοκρατορία, the Ottoman Empire, το 1821, in 1821, και αποτελεί, and it constitutes, it is, μία από τις σημαντικότερες, one of the most important. So if you are, again, a lower level learner, you want to remember this way of saying it, one of the most important, μία από τις σημαντικότερες, and then can come whatever you want to compare. Ημέρες, days, του ελληνικού ημερολογίου, of the Greek calendar. Let's go to the second paragraph of this. Παράλληλα με τις, in parallel with the επίσημες, επίσημος is official, comes from epi, and sima, which is the sign, right, is somebody who has a sign attached to him. A sign is on him, and this is why he is an official. He has some kind of sign, of mark, of distinction on his body or her body. And so in parallel with these official teletes, the teleti is the ceremony, and the graphio teleton, the ceremony office, is what they call the undertakers, the people who organize the ceremonies for the dead, right? So, paralela με τις επίσημες τελετές, but here, of course, it's not the undertakers, here it's the official ceremonies. In parallel with the official ceremonies, οι ελληνικές οικογένειες, the Greek families, οικογένειες, family, τηρούν, they keep up, they observe, την παράδοση, the tradition. Παράδοση is the tradition, comes from δίνω, I give, para, I give on the side, right? So I give to the next generation something. Μαγειρεύοντας, through cooking, by cooking, μπακαλιάρο με σκορδαλιά, cod with garlic dip, it says here, garlic dip. Σκορδαλιά is more or less pure garlic, and they make it look like it is mashed potatoes. And I have horrible memory from my childhood where I thought that this was fish with mashed potatoes. And because, like every child, I loved mashed potatoes, I took a big spoon and tucked into the mashed potatoes and ate a big spoon of the σκορδαλιά, which was a big spoonful of garlic. And it was horrible, and I still remember that. Okay, so it's cod bacalharos with this garlic dip, it says here, but I wouldn't call it a dip. It's more like pure garlic. Το χαρακτηριστικό, the characteristic, piatto, dish. Piatto is also the plate, της ημέρας, of the day. Στο μήνυμά του, in his message, μήνυμα is the message, προς τον ελληνικό λαό, towards to the Greek laos is the population, the Greek people. Ο πρόεδρος is the president in all kinds of contexts. It can be the president of a company, it can be the president of your football club. In this case, it's ο πρόεδρος της δημοκρατίας, the president of the democracy. And this is the name for the president of Greece. This is not the prime minister, right? So Greece has a two-headed government structure where you have the more ceremonial president and you have the more politically active prime minister. This is similar in Germany, right, where you have a president who is not doing much, but you have the chancellor in Germany who is the actual person doing the politics. And it's a little similar also in a sense, to the English idea of having the king as a replacement here for the president. But it's important to remember that this is different from the president in, let's say, the United States or the president in France, where the power is the opposite, the power structure, right? So there you have the president actually defining the politics. And the prime minister, for example, in France is less influential than the president, as far as I understand it. So yeah, in his message to the Greek population, ο πρόεδρος της δημοκρατίας, the president of democracy, τόνισε, he emphasized, ότι that οι αξίες της ελευθερίας, the values of freedom, ελευθερία is the freedom, και της δημοκρατίας and of democracy, παραμένουν. They are staying, they are remaining, πιο επίκαιρες από ποτέ. More relevant, επίκαιρες από ποτέ. Than ever. Επίκαιρος means relevant at this time. You see kairos in there means the time. So it is the time at which these are relevant. And they are, epi means on top of. So they are on top of the times, right? Which means relevant at this time. They are remaining πιο επίκαιρες από ποτέ, more relevant than ever. Ποτέ in this case doesn't mean never, it means ever, more relevant than ever. So remember again, this is fixed sentence structure, a fixed pattern. Πιο επίκαιρες από ποτέ, πιο καλές από ποτέ, πιο κακές από ποτέ. Οι μέρες είναι πιο ζεστές από ποτέ. So you can use this πιο something από ποτέ to emphasize that this quality is now more than ever before. As the country, καθώς η χώρα, καθώς is the as, right? Η χώρα, the country, αντιμετωπίζει, is facing. Αντιμετωπίζει, we had this word before. It's a funny word because it comes from an D opposite, and the μέτωπο is your forehead. So αντιμετωπίζω means to be forehead to forehead with something. And this means to face, right? It's the same idea like facing, right? You have the face turned towards the other face. Here you have the forehead colliding with the other forehead because you are opposing each other and presumably pushing your foreheads against each other. So αντιμετωπίζω is to face, τις προκλήσεις, the challenges μιας νέας εποχής, of a new era. Εποχή is both the era, but it's also the part of the year. Εποχή is also the season. The spring is an εποχή, summer is an εποχή. So the seasons are εποχές. It can also be an historical season. Perhaps you can say something like the Renaissance is an εποχή in history. So εποχή just means a part of time that is somehow unified in some property. But when you say νέα εποχή, this is also a fixed expression that means the new era, the new times, modern times. Okay, there are in the Substack grammar points that you can find there. The vocabulary, again, you will find it there. Let me now ask you a few questions. Let's come to our quiz. I will tell you something in English and you translate it to Greek. To honor. Greece honors. How do I say this in Greek? Stop this here if you want to pause this recording, if you want to think about it for a moment. Greece honors is η Ελλάδα τιμά. Η Ελλάδα τιμά. What is the anniversary? The anniversary is επέτειος. Επέτειος. How do you say military parades? Στρατιωτικές παρελάσεις. Στρατιωτικές παρελάσεις. How do you say independence in Greek? Independence is ανεξαρτησία. Ανεξαρτησία. How do you say the struggle for independence? The struggle for independence is ο αγώνας για ανεξαρτησία. How do you say the Ottoman Empire? The Ottoman Empire is η Οθωμανική Αυτοκρατορία. Η Οθωμανική Αυτοκρατορία. How do you say one of the most important? One of the most important. Μία από τις σημαντικότερες. Μία από τις σημαντικότερες. How do you say the official ceremonies? Οι επίσημες τελετές. Οι επίσημες τελετές. How do you say cod with garlic dip? The dish cod with garlic dip. Μπακαλιάρος με σκορδαλιά. Μπακαλιάρος με σκορδαλιά. How do you say the president of Greece? The president of Greece, you don't say πρόεδρος της Ελλάδας normally, you say ο πρόεδρος της Δημοκρατίας, the president of democracy. How do you say freedom? Freedom is ελευθερία. How do you say they remain more relevant than ever? They remain more relevant than ever. Παραμένουν πιο επίκαιρες από ποτέ. Παραμένουν πιο επίκαιρες από ποτέ. How do you say the challenges of a new era? The challenges of a new era, οι προκλήσεις μιας νέας εποχής. Οι προκλήσεις μιας νέας εποχής. And that's it. If you want the text, please go to my Substack, and then you can also support this channel. You will also find all the words and an additional quiz that asks different questions. Thank you for being here today, and we will talk again tomorrow. Bye-bye.